Well, hello there, gorgeous. It is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, and it is time once again to feed your prediction addiction, beautiful tribe. Today marks off the 14th year anniversary of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that hit Japan. Prayers to those that were caught in the epicenter of that disaster in 2011. That was something that was in my past predictions, which was in magazines and things throughout Japan. The big question now is that many people have been asking is Japan going to be hit again this year? And if not, who is going to be hit? So much happening with our climate, so many things shifting and changing, so many intense energies that are flowing in, especially over the next week. Less than a week, actually. Flowing in as of today. The past week has not at all disappointed when it comes to the drama amongst governments and leaders. One side fighting for peace, while the others in Europe seem to be pushing for more and more conflict. Likely because their economy is on the edge of collapse, just like the rest of the world's economies. And you know what happens when the economies get unrestful? They usually start a conflict. That's what they do. That's what our history shows us. Are you ready for their planned carbon tax initiative that they're pushing? And the new digital currency that's coming our way? I have a piece to show you today that you're going to want to see, and how this was all planned for a very long time, friends. Very long time. More back and forth that we see over this tariff stuff that's happening in the United States. One day it's tariffs, markets drop. They cancel tariffs temporarily and the markets rise back up. The concerning post from Eric Trump, actually, and Donald Jr., that in my opinion shows and confirms exactly what I said in the recent past that I believe is happening amongst the oligarchs across the country. Are you familiar with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, passed back in 1930 here in the United States by a Republican-ruled House decades ago? Do you know what followed after that? Well, if not, I'll clue you in today, and I'll educate you on this. And I'm going to also show you what Ronald Reagan happened to say and what he happened to do when it came to tariffs. And more importantly, where is this likely going to lead us all in the near future? It's going to lead us down some interesting roadways, friends. Did you happen to see the presidential address last week? I'm sure many of you did, and probably all of you, even in other countries. It's interesting to watch. And what wasn't interesting was the absolute disrespect that came from one side over another by not giving that little kid who was a cancer survivor any acknowledgement whatsoever, not to mention the disrespect to other fellow Americans who dealt with major trauma in their lives. Sometimes people need to teach these people you need to put politics aside, especially when it comes to little kids. And I'll explain and show you today how just about absolutely everything you see in the media, on the telly, and even coming from people in groups like senators is all 100% scripted, like a television drama series. Interesting stuff today, friends. Interesting to say the least. China just put out a statement that they're ready for any conflict that United States wants to enter into. That is not a good sign, friends, at all. We enter into these intense energies and alignments along with the coming blood moon eclipse just days away, which is also a warning time for coming outages and even cyber attacks. Miscommunications, arguments, all kinds of wonderful things. Now, parasites, those devilish little creatures, seem to be a huge focus of discussion over the past year, more and more. And even the Holy Bible speaks of parasites, if you didn't know already. It even speaks of how to rid your body of such devilish creatures. Do you at all believe some of what people are claiming all over the internet about parasites and the things that they are allegedly responsible for? Did you also know that your human body is a battery that operates positive and negative frequencies, friends? Positive and negative, just like a battery. Without equal polarities, you're not going to get any juice out of the battery. Too much positive, it's going to blow up in your face. Too much negative, and you're never going to get any energy. It's just going to deplete you. So 2 important topics I'm going to touch on today. the body as a battery, and parasites, and how to identify and rid the body of them. Are we stuck in this loop of conspiracy? Or is it really just a loop of cover-ups? Everything from Oklahoma City to taking out President Kennedy and many others. Today, I happened to stumble upon a clip that you're just going to have to see. A clip from a previous FBI chief and his warning. Something that you are definitely going to want to hear for yourself. You may also recall my past predictions around sabotage. Sabotage of underwater cables, pipelines, and even power grids. Spirit told us that this would become a common form of attack, and the attack just occurred over the past few weeks. But no one seems to be talking about it. Nobody. And I only found out because I have a friend that lives where this happened. And I heard from another friend and yada, yada, yada. But nobody's talking about it. The last cables that we saw cut purposely was by China to Taiwan when the captain drugged the anchor purposely. And after that happened, I told you we're going to see this happen again with cables. We're going to see it happen. I also talked about water wars and complications around water. Well, wait until you hear who got attacked recently and that nobody seems to be wanting to talk about. I'm sure my friends in Sweden don't want to talk about it. A little hint for you there. It's just really interesting, friends. So much going on. And I'll give you a hint. Again, that connection is mixed. I'm going to bring all that up today, along with mixed with, of course, within today's show, predictions and what's going on in the world, the energies that are heading our way, and so much more on this episode, number 157, friends, of Tuesday's Prediction Update. So get that kettle ready, friends. Brew that hot water because it's time to vibe with your tribe. Because it's Tittle Tea time, baby. The past week has presented itself as beyond interesting. Incoming energies already bringing people's true sides out. Have you noticed that? While stirring up all kinds of emotions in other folks. Remember, March does vibrate in that 3 vibration, which will have us searching high and low as to what makes us happy and brings in the energy of happiness. By also identifying with that 9 vibration of the year, what it is we need to let go of. Those that no longer hold our highest potentials and highest vibrations. While we have the Venus and Mercury retrograde together, highlighting communications, relationships, and yes, emotions too. Those emotions are about to heighten very greatly, friends. So hold on tight, and some of you might want to get your tissue box ready and your punching bag ready. Because everyone is going to feel this on different levels in the coming week. And I don't want to butter up the burnt toast for you, friends. With all honesty, the next coming few weeks are going to be really intense. So hang in there. Get outside, connect with nature, do things to focus on what makes you happy. And don't let other people get under your skin, because they will, I assure you. We have all these somewhat strange solar energies flying in at us while we are just days away from a very powerful, a biblical, some will say, blood moon lunar eclipse, which I'm looking forward to. I'm going to set my camera up and go out and watch it even though it's late at night. Welcoming in the full moon eclipse in the very earthly sign of Virgo. Yes, us virgins, forever virgins we are. The coming eclipse is powerful in a karmic release, a very powerful karmic release, friends. And it's truly, again, a time to really let go of so many things. And we'll see this playing out on the global stage as well. With, again, the collapsing of structures as we are already seeing. We see it in the United States with the president shutting down agencies, getting rid of people. That's endings, big endings. And as I told you in the past, other countries are going to follow suit, including Canada when that Pierre guy ends up getting in, because that's who I feel is going to end up in there. Now, the window kicking off on the eclipse on March 14th. March 13th, actually, here in Arizona, I think at like 8:57 p.m. is when the eclipse starts. Full moon kicks in. And I think it goes dark, the moon, by midnight. So I don't know if I'll make it till midnight, but I'm going to try. Because I am off the next day. So, and I do have, folks and family coming to raid my house this week, which is lovely too. So yeah, March 13th here in Arizona on the East Coast, it'll be, just after midnight actually. just after midnight. I forget what time, but yeah, it's somewhere around there. I think 11:57, something like that. Close enough, depending on where at in the world you happen to be. But that's what's rolling in, friends, and it's going to bring with it massive revelations when it comes to health on a personal level and on a universal level. I expect this to be the first window where we see Robert Kennedy bringing about huge revelations when it comes to our food and when it comes to our health. I would tell you that would be a person to watch very closely over the next 30 days. Robert Kennedy. Watch what he's doing. Watch what he reveals. Because, media's not going to show it to you. And many platforms might even ban what he's about to present to us. So keep your eyes on Bobby. Keep your eyes on Bobby. And now the globalists, they're not going to like at all very much what he's about to expose and do. And this could also bring revelations when it comes to our own personal health. If you're dealing with any type of health issues, stay hopeful, actually. Stay very hopeful that this energy and this time can actually bring in positive breakthroughs that can actually help better your path of health. Nothing better than that, right, friends? It's all about your health. This is a really powerful time for some really deep healing, deep inner healing for all of us on all different levels. Take advantage of this energy. On that eclipse, if you want to do some healing, you have a disease, an ailment, something you want to get rid of, use a blue candle for healing. Blue is the color of healing. Light that, right as soon as that full moon kicks in, or you can do it the next day, preferably at nighttime, but closest to the full moon as possible. I'll be lighting my candle as soon as that time clicks to, what time did I say, 8:57 or whatever it is? I'll be lighting my candles, getting everything ready. Now I'm manifesting, you can manifest things anytime, but we want to wait for the new moon. New moon's going to be awesome for that because it's a solar eclipse. I'm going to try again. I have a busy week again, family, friends coming and such. And I'm going to try to put out a healing meditation before the full moon eclipse. And then the new moon, definitely going to put out a manifest meditation video as well. Because the eclipses are the most powerful time ever to do such. Especially the blood moon eclipse. So look forward to revelations coming when it comes to your own health, whatever it may be. And again, be hopeful, be positive that this is a time where you can beat it, clear it. Because there's going to be so many breakthroughs that could put us on a better path to health. And again, this is a really powerful time for deep inner healing. The full moon is a very prophetic sign, according to many. I would agree with that. A sign of major ascension, friends, that's going to come from major sudden changes, unexpected changes. This is a time to literally expect the absolute unexpected, like never before, and prepare. Spirit says some of these changes that we're about to incur could be radical changes, so expect and prepare for the absolutely unexpected. The entire year. Again, it's the 9 vibrational year in 2025 of endings, and March 14th marks off a time where these systems become very unstable. Our systems, the economy, government system, all systems become very unstable. Negotiations that fail because folks are going to act out of anger instead of, acting out from their heart space, making sudden, hasty decisions that are likely not for the good of all. I've seen that happen over the past week. Maybe you have. And we haven't even gotten there yet. That's the funny thing. We're experiencing these things before we even step into that energy shift. Now, we will also, when it comes to political and government corruption, we're going to see a lot of political and government corruption being exposed. This full moon that's coming up is all about stepping us into a time where secrets must be revealed, corruption must float to the surface because it's drowning, and even corruption's being exposed with corporations, big companies. A time where it is more possible than ever that we will see arrests coming from this. Arrests from inside corruption and even full exposure of inside trading. I said that over the past few weeks. We know that's kind of what they're doing right now with these tariffs ups and down. Sounds like a lot of inside trading to me. We just need to hold in the light, all of us, that justice truly serves where it is needed to be served when these truths and corruptions come out. Because we see all these corruptions and they just all keep getting away with it. Well, that needs to stop. They need to pay their karma back. And karmic debt is, again, a big part of what's coming up. You'll see that play out maybe in your own life. Good karma, bad karma, both. Karma comes in both forms, just like that battery, positive and negative vibrations. And I've seen people, even around here, get their karma back. And the sad part is they don't even realize it's their karma. That's the sad part. And then the universe just keeps hitting you again and again until you finally figure it out. Some folks never figure it out. The energy is already having this really heavy effect, and the tsunami wave of energy has not even come to our shorelines yet. That comes on the 15th. But it is coming. Again, it is coming. Both metaphorically, energetically, and literally. So I tell you, expect activities in the Earth's plates. Earthquakes, major flooding, and even a huge volcanic eruption, multiple, within the coming week and over the next 30 days. I would also tell you to expect to see more concerns when it comes to our food supplies in the coming months. We already see the concerns around eggs and such, and what's happening with eggs. You know, a lot of people don't realize the whole egg thing and what Joe Biden did right after the elections, actually, and after DT won. He ordered the slaughter of 145 million hens under the claim of bird flu. 145 million. I say that was done on purpose. That's what my intuition tells me. And look at what happened with eggs since. Sabotage. How many times have I talked about sabotage and government sabotaging one another, politicians sabotaging one another? Sabotage. It's like that song from the 80s. Who sung that song? The Beastie Boys, wasn't it? Yeah, sabotage. So prepare, friends. I told you I ordered the big cans of all the dry freezed meats. Chicken, beef, all that. You know, because people might think, oh, I got 3 refrigerators or freezers full, but what happens when the power goes off? You're going to power that up? And how long are you going to be able to keep that powered up? And how quick are you going to be able to eat that food? You have to have dry goods, you know, rice, beans. Now, rice, I'm going to go get a big bag of rice because I have big jars, and I have a thing you put on the jar, and it sucks all the air out, so I'm going to do that because I'm almost out of rice, so I'm going to go do that for my supply. But things that you need to do. Now, the weather... The weather here in Sedona has been very strange. Like the rest of the planet, of course. We had spring temperatures for like 2 weeks. And all my fruit trees out back, most of them, not all, not the apples, but most of them. The apples have buds on them, but not flowers. All my peaches, plums are all flowered. They're all flowered, and then in comes the heavy winds, and then that follows up by cold, rain, then it froze, and then it was followed up by 14 inches of snow right here in the canyon. Now, I'm up in a higher elevation, so, you know, I could drive 3 miles down towards town, and they have a lot less. Sometimes they just have rain. But we got 14 inches of snow here, and I went out and took some amazing pictures of the morning after the storm. Absolutely gorgeous pictures I took with this camera that I got to do this content. Sony camera, by the way. Most of the snow's already melted, and I expect it all to pretty much melt, except for the piles, of course, where we shoveled, to melt, you know, in this almost spring weather that we're having again. Interesting. Except now, you know, the weather forecast says more snow and cold is coming here by the weekend. This is the strangest of weather, friends. The strangest, and I really hope that my fruit trees still get fruit. It's very questionable at this time. Now, you can't cover them either. They're big trees. I know people put in the comments, can't you cover them? If I had a crane, yeah. I don't have any other way of covering them. So directly following that monumental blood moon, I mean blood moon, actually. They don't have a song for blood moon. We have blue moon, but not blood moon. But directly following that on March 15th, we're going to step out of the pre-shadow of the Mercury retrograde and directly into the doo-doo of Mercury retrograde in Aries. Right into the direct energy of it. That's when the energy shift comes rolling in too, because it's right after the full moon. Whenever there's a retrograde Mercury, full moon, we have these waves of energy that come in. And some of those waves even come in from our sun, so we can keep our eye on the sun too. But this Mercury retrograde direct in Aries on the 15th. So if you've already been experienced any kind of miscommunications, tensions with others, or even things breaking down on you. Hold on tight, friends, because we're climbing to the top of that roller coaster, and on March 15th, we're going to drop down that hill at very, very high speeds. It'll be fun. I love a good roller coaster ride. Oh, speaking of roller coaster rides, they knocked down my favorite roller coaster, King of Ka, at Six Flags, New Jersey. I was so upset to see them. That was my favorite coaster. The highest. It was great. Well, I don't live there anymore and don't plan on going back there anyway. So, speaking of breakdowns, we are not even in the direct retrograde. We're only in the pre-shadow of it right now. And over the weekend, my oven kicked the bucket. On Saturday, to be exact. Yep, totally kicked the bucket. Put food in there. It felt like it was warm and all. And I guess it was just the pilot, but no gas is coming through. I knew it was on its way out. Back in Pennsylvania, it was like every retrograde, a different appliance broke. First, it was the hot water heater. Then it was the dryer. Then it was the washer. Until everything was replaced by the time I sold the house when I moved across country. Craziness. Retrogrades do that. Here's the thing. I'm not going to buy a new one. And if you have something that breaks down too, don't buy a new one until April when we are out of this Mercury retrograde influence. Because remember, do not buy or get fixed motorized items such as your vehicle, electronics, computers, all that stuff. Expect there to be all sorts of outages. Cell phone outages, perhaps internet outages in different parts of the world, and even power outages in different parts of the world. And not all weather related. Likely maybe cyber attack related. And if you have bad weather heading your way, friends, plan on there likely being a power outage when we step directly into that retrograde. Just plan on it. And if it don't happen, all the better. I planned on actually an outage with all the snow because it snowed so much all day. It was wet and it stuck to all the trees. I had to go out every few hours and shake off my fruit trees to get all the snow off them. Because my peach tree was bent down to the ground. And then it freezes at night. And when that freezes at night, it makes it even heavier and worse. So I prepared. I charged my generator, got everything ready. Luckily, we didn't have a power outage. But at least I was prepared, as you should be too. Never scared, always prepared. Now, speaking not only breakdowns, Mercury retrograde is truly going to test people's patience. Just a little patience. And even our strategies. It's going to test your patience. It's going to test your strategies. And it's going to put leaders in their negotiations. It's going to sabotage them. It's definitely going to cause issues with negotiations. And it's going to put negotiations to a big test. In turn, we're about to witness leaders making some really less than smart decisions that likely will bring about more conflict and even unexpected attacks in this window, say in the next 30 days, but especially over the next 2 weeks. Now and we also have Venus retrograde too, and a bunch of other things. Now when it comes to your own personal relationships may also experience misunderstandings. So don't take things so seriously, friends. As I saw somebody do the other day, don't take things so seriously, or don't cop such an attitude with somebody when they're trying to bring something across to your attention and become so defensive as somebody did to me yesterday. Was it yesterday? Regardless, it's the energies. And, people take things the wrong way, completely take things, especially when they already got an attitude problem with you for no reason. So avoid those people. That's what I'm going to do. Just avoid them like the plague. Now, I experienced that the other day, again, when someone gave me that unnecessary major attitude. Obviously, they took it the wrong way. And they already had a bug up their butt for whatever reason. Who knows? And you know what I say to that? Let that be their problem. Don't make it your problem, because it is their problem. If someone's got a bug up their butt about you and there's no explanation, or they won't approach you like a true person should, hey, this bothered or whatever, that's their problem, not yours. Unplug, friends. I am unplugging from your energy. Thank you. It works for me every time. Expect there to be delays. If you're planning on any type of travel over the next 3 to 4 weeks, more so over the next 2 weeks, we are going to see many airline cancellations even around trains and other forms of travel. And even if you're on the road, which I'll be taking to the road during that retrograde, even if you're on the road, expect there to be backups. Expect there to be sudden detours or road closures where, suddenly, maybe due to an accident or something. Always try your best to avoid driving when it comes to bad weather, especially over this next 2 weeks. Otherwise, you can end up stuck. And I had visions of folks being stuck from a major snowstorm. And remember, it's still winter officially for the next 9 days until the spring equinox and autumn equinox down there in the southern hemisphere kicks in on the 20th. And once again, once we get through these next few weeks, we actually do have some amazing energies that are going to be flowing into our planet. Amazing energies, which I'll talk about likely next week or over the next few weeks. And soon the floodwaters are going to recede. First, the floodwaters have to come in first. So we still await that flood. We still await that tsunami wave and that first major energy shift of 2025 to come kicking in. Beginning on that full moon eclipse, 13th and 14th. But even more so on the 15th when we step directly into the doo-doo of Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo. Or Aries, whichever one I said. Aries? Yeah, Aries. The full moon is in Virgo. My bad. Dyslexia sometimes switches things around on me. Not fair. But again, this time, this full blood moon, this is going to mark this coming energy shift as a pivotal point for all of humanity and for our entire Mother Earth. So hold on tight. It's going to be a wild ride. Beautiful souls, I just want to take a moment to stop and welcome you to my channel. Welcome you back to my channel. And if you're new here, you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, and you want to vibe with this awesome tribe that we're building here, then please do smash that subscribe, the bell, all, so that you hopefully do get notifications. And if I don't pop up on your feed by Wednesday, depending on what part of the world you're in, go directly to my channel to make sure that you aren't unsubscribed from my channel, because it seems to happen an awful lot for some reason or another. We can all just speculate. We already know why. But be sure to check that you didn't mysteriously become unsubscribed from my channel, and always click that thumbs up love button. It shows the algorithms you want more content like this on your channel. It helps our channel to grow, and it also shows your love for all the time and energy that goes into this show every week. A lot more than you can imagine, so thank you. And a big thank you to all the amazing people that make this free content possible for everybody else. Whether you're a member of the community below, a member of the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community, or a contributor to this channel. I am so grateful, and again, couldn't do it without you. So I appreciate you all with infinite love and gratitude. Down below, in the description, you'll find the link to my newsletter, the March newsletter, with all the astrology and numerology and all the last content that I did for the past month to ensure you didn't forget anything good. It's all good, so make sure you didn't forget any of it. The links to my social media are down below as well, along with whatever else you want to know, including the link to my website. If you want private sessions or anything like that, go to josephtittel.com, Tittel, or spiritmanjt.com. Easy to remember, take you to the same place. And keep in mind that I'm usually booked out anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So always plan ahead, friends. Always plan ahead. And let us move on. Oh, one other thing. Beware of fake accounts on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're the main three, but any of them, any platform other than here, that you get a message from someone that appears to be me. I assure you it is not me. Especially if they try to coerce you into sending them money, gift certificates, or telling you they have a message from Spirit. That ain't me, friends. I have a super duper busy schedule. Can't keep up with that. Barely even go on social media, because of all the negativity on there I keep off. So report those profiles immediately, and thank you for doing so. And let us move on with episode number 157 of Teatime, baby. Today happens to mark off the 14th year anniversary date of Japan's massive earthquake and tsunami. Something I predicted less than 3 months before it happened in my annual yearly predictions in 2011. So prayers to all the folks that are back in Japan lighting candles on this, anniversary date and this 11 day. A date, a number, the 11, that I've told you about and talked about time and time again. And I'm recording this actually on the 10th, the day before. Today's Monday, What time is it here in beautiful Sedona? It's 12:27, right after lunch time, and I haven't had lunch yet, but as soon as I'm done recording this episode, I'm going to skedaddle out of here and come back and edit it tonight so that it's all on time. I got to make sure I record this early for you folks because it's retrograde, especially in case there's any complications, to ensure that we're on time. And now there's a 3-hour difference. Oh, I can't stand the time change. All my friends back east, it's 3 hours now instead of 2 hours. I don't like that. So, that could put the show out a little bit later for some folks. That's because of the time change. We don't have time change here in Arizona. Now, going back to that number 11, a number that we've talked about time and time again. And again, I'm recording this on the 10th, so I don't know, there could be something interesting that could happen tomorrow on the 11th, March 11th. It's very, very possible. But always keep your eyes on the dates every month, the 11th and the 29th. They also like to use the number 22 a lot, they being, the illuminated ones. But the 11 and 29, 9 plus 2 is an 11. It breaks down to an 11. And it's still in numerology is also boils down to the 2 vibration. But whenever we get an 11, 22, or 33, we always stop and look at that first. Master numbers. Now, the 11, you'll notice big storms and things always come in and hit terribly. If you have a storm heading your way and it's going to touch ground in your neighborhood on those dates, the 11th or 29th, be prepared. Hurricane Sandy came in October 29th. Hurricane Katrina came in on August 29th. There were a couple that were the 11th, like, again, what happened in Japan on March 11th. So just always be aware and watch those dates carefully. The 22, we seem to see more large pow-pow events, more large casualty events that happen around the 22, which is interesting. Now, we also have JFK. Who, we know that happened on 11/22. No coincidence. The illuminated ones use that number on purpose. Now, I have been predicting, channeling, and even pointing to the map and areas of the map right off the Eastern Pacific, from Indonesia to the Philippines and all the way up to Japan. I came through in channeling predictions back in late 2023, and I pointed to it on the map in my map scrying weather videos. That whole area has been coming to me for well over a year. Now, those that haven't been following me long, sometimes things I say happen right away. Some things take 2 years. Some things take even 3 years to happen. It was 2017 predictions where I saw people wearing masks. Talked about massive outbreaks. 3 years later, it took 3 years. This one, though, with the energies, the 9 vibration, everything that's happening this year, my feelings of something big happening in that Eastern Pacific between those areas, it's definitely coming this year. I don't even question that. I feel it's coming. And that could even hit the area of Japan. And I feel 2025 is a year where those past visions in those areas of the Pacific are going to have a massive earthquake. And I feel that this could be much larger than what hit in 2011. And I do feel like it's out in the water, but I feel like there's multiple quakes. I see 3 different areas. Spirit shows me 3 different areas. It's kind of like I'm over towards Indonesia. I'm out in the ocean, Pacific. It's almost like a triangle, actually. And then I'm over on the coast of Japan, closest to, say, Tokyo. So that's where Spirit shows me 3 different spots, all having this activity, along with this potential, according to, again, my past predictions and visions, of unleashing a large tsunami wave, perhaps actually multiple tsunami waves, or just, again, large tsunami waves going in multiple directions. Now, the astrology, the 9 vibration of 2025, all points to major disaster, and it also points to water. So the biggest flooding, of course, that we could experience would likely be from tsunami waves. And flooding could come in any forms, but that would be the big one. Now, I don't feel like this is all happening necessarily in the month of March. I point more towards actually July and August. But again, it was March 11th, 2011, where Japan got hit. Would it be a coincidence that they get hit again? Or someone else gets hit on March 11th, 2025? Or March 29th, that 11 day, the very end of the month, as we're coming out of these energies? Spirit says keep an eye on the sun, too. The sun flares will let us know of the incoming quake. the big one, which means multiple sun flares, one being very big. I haven't looked at the sun in a while, but we're going to have to keep our eyes on the sun. Now, Spirit shows me that the summer months are going to be very fiery. And not just the sense of just fires and wildfires, but more in the sense of things firing up globally in all sorts of ways. It's going to be a long, hot summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, so get your swimsuit ready and get ready to go swimming because we're going to need a dip in the pool to cool things down when we get to the summer months. Let's talk about the conflict in the world, or world conflict, because there seems to be an awful lot of it, and a lot more that seems to be brewing behind the scenes. You may remember the video I did on the Baba Vanga prophecy. Baba Vanga, the blind prophet as they refer to her, from Bulgaria. I did a video on it. Many of you missed that video on the Baba Vanga prophecy. I'll leave a link up above, down below in the description. Just keep your eyes above. It'll pop up at some point, or just go down to the bottom of the description. You'll find each week the recommended videos. In that Baba Vanga prophecy, she stated that when Syria falls, the world will burn. This seems to fall into place with my feelings that this coming summer is going to be a fiery time. We saw Syria fall the last year, late last year, early this year, can't recall. And remember what Spirit warned of it being the worst, becoming worst after the fall of, what's his name, Bashad? Yeah. Over the past few weeks, Syria has seen more intense fighting. And Spirit warns that Syria itself will actually burn. The whole entire Syria. And I'm not clear if this is going to be due to some type of chemical weapon, even maybe a small nuclear type of device being used, or even perhaps, even more likely, some type of new warfare that we have yet to see or witness in action. Maybe one of those Mountain Dews, friends, causing a complete fall and destruction of Syria. And Spirit shows me a vision of people fleeing. But, I mean, many have, but I see people fleeing like something's coming, like we're all running, kind of fleeing. It was more of people running than just fleeing like immigrants. Yeah, it was more like that in my vision. But so many, I felt, unfortunately, of course, don't get out. And Spirit says to keep a close eye on Syria, for it is going to be from here that an even greater conflict will ignite. Eyes on Syria, friends. Eyes on Syria. Now, I feel more shakings are going to hit both Syria and Turkey. As Turkey was hit, both of them were hit in 2023, but larger. Remember, I said that big, I forget what I said, but we pointed to Turkey and it was something about the full moon. No, I mean sun flare. And it legitimately, that's exactly how it played out. There was a sun flare, and I think it was just as soon as those flares hit the earth, they got hit with that massive earthquake in Turkey. But, there's more coming to that area. I see a massive quake hitting in two separate areas between Syria and Turkey. And I feel it will be soon after this massive quake that we will witness the final destruction of Syria. Somehow, I don't know how, but Iran's weaved into this web of darkness in some way. But I couldn't really quite put my finger on it. So, friends, only time will tell. China puts out this statement that they are ready for any conflict that the United States want to enter into, whether it's a trade conflict or an actual legitimate conflict. There will be a point in the future, not near future, but this just came to me, I do see a point in the future where China's going to try to invade the upper region. So I'm going to say a combination of Alaska and perhaps even part of Canada. This may be a few years out, but that just came to me. Not a good sign at all that China said they're ready for any alignment, because China wants conflict. They think that they can take over the whole world. Perhaps they can. But that's what they want. They want conflict. Europe wants conflict. They all seem to want conflict. We need to get rid of these leaders, friends. We need peace. That's all we're saying. Give peace a chance, friends. So not a good sign. And with this coming blood moon in just a few days, it just makes it all the more intense. And it's also a warning time. from Spirit for outages again and major cyber attacks. I feel there's going to be a major cyber attack in the very near future that may actually cripple the entire economic system. And if that's the way it plays out, that's a globalist inside job. And you heard it here first. We're also seeing one side shouting that they want peace and, trying to take steps to make peace with others, but actually also causing conflict. It's a very complicated situation. And now, especially over there in Europe, in the UK and France and others, they continue to push for more and more conflict. More and more conflict in their proxy conflicts with the UKR and, the Rush. The Rush, bro. Brush. Anyway, they're getting ready to push in NATO further into Ukraine while pushing closer into the firing line of Russian forces. That's not good. So if, the president really does want peace, I really hope that he succeeds in pushing this in the near future, but it's not feeling very good intuitively for me. Not feeling good at all right now. Doesn't mean it can't end by the end of the year, which it probably likely will, but it's what's going to happen in between. Now, it gets even more interesting because, we hear all the time Russia wants to invade other countries and take over after they take over Ukraine. We don't know if that's true or not. But Russia's pulling some sabotage tricks just like China. I'll tell you about that at the end of today's show. We know about the sabotage that happened to Taiwan. Well, now Russia is being accused of such sabotage, which I feel is totally legitimate. We'll go over that later again. So anyway, hopefully Trump and others may find peace. But sadly, again, I don't feel like this is happening in our immediate future. Not for Europe especially, and definitely not for the Middle East or Israel. Because Israel also seems to be pushing for more conflict or more excuses to bring more conflict. And it seems like there's an awful lot of land grabs going on in these conflicts. Or mineral grabs. At least that's maybe just what they want us to think. And that's not the case at all, maybe. Just saying, can't believe everything they tell us. And regardless, these conflicts are about to heighten. And I see rage coming from both Russia, China, and the Islamic radicals. Not good. Including another rise of ISIS, once again, perhaps changing or taking on a new name, is what Spirit showed me last night when I was channeling this information through. Yep, the group ISIS taking on a new name in the not far off future. Wonder what that new name will be. Your guesses in the comments below. Lots of political drama, friends. Drama. Don't want no drama. No drama, because this past week is not disappointing when it comes to drama amongst governments, amongst leaders, amongst neighbors. One side fighting for peace, while again others in Europe push for more and more conflict. Likely because their economy is on the edge of collapse and they don't know what to do. So are you ready for their planned carbon tax and digital currency? That is the plan. Something that has been planned by the globalists for a very, very long time. Whether you recognize it or not, I'm going to help you recognize it. At least going back to the 1980s, where they were clearly aware of the future. And how did they know? How were they so aware of the future agenda in this digital enslavement back in 1988? A digital tracking monetary system backed by a carbon tax. Just more taxes to put folks deeper and deeper into poverty. And can you guess who's pushing this agenda? One of them is not quite as in the spotlight as the other. The one that's not quite in the spotlight pushing it like the other would be Peter Thiel. That's one of Satan's troopers, sergeants or lieutenants. It's one of Satan's lieutenants. And the other one that is in the spotlight that's pushing this carbon tax is Elon. Everybody's a little hero. Will he be your hero when you are forced to pay carbon tax? When you're told you're not allowed to buy meat or have steak for another 3 months? That's what it leads to, friends. And if you don't believe it and you think it's all conspiracy, I can show it all to you today. I can show you even Musk talking about pushing the carbon tax. He's talked about it. Just look it up for yourself. I don't even need to show you. Just do your own research.
Has there been a response to this? Like, is this something
I talked to the Biden administration, incoming administration, and they were like, well, this seems too politically difficult. And I was like, well, this is obviously a thing that should happen.
And even some sort of an incremental increase over time.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to
Warn people.
Yeah, if you just say it's coming, people will automatically make the changes.
That seems so reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
And they were like,
They thought it was like too politically difficult, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's like at least half the reason you got elected. So why don't you just fight for that? You know, there's just one thing that would matter: put a price on carbon.
that would be the best option.
For sure.
That seems like it'd be such a good idea.
Like, what do 90% of economists think? And like, they all agree. Okay, we should do that.
First, let's look back at the 1988 issue of The Economist magazine. A topic I actually clearly covered years ago on this exact actual magazine cover. I think it was 2019, maybe 2020. It was around that time period. I believe that I took a very good look at this 1988 issue of The Economist and what it clearly shows on the cover, friends. And I remember pointing specifically to the year that happened to be noted on that gold coin being held by a phoenix in the year 2018. You see the phoenix is rising up from a pile of money with that strange symbol with the circle and the line. That could have actually multiple meanings to it, that circle with the line, starting with that could be a symbol actually for prohibition. Are they going to make cash illegal? It would also stand for duality, which I doubt that's why they put that there. Or it could also represent in Latin mathematical calculations and represent the number 0. Starting from scratch, perhaps. You also see that it says 10 Phoenix at the top of that their gold coin, which resembles very much a Bitcoin, by the way. The spiritual meaning of the number 10 is new beginnings and personal growth. The 1 represents leadership and new starts, while the 0 represents infinity. Together, this suggests being on the right path to achieving a goal. So that's them using that symbolism to make sure that they achieve their goals. Now, you'll also notice the crown. See how the phoenix is wearing a crown on the top of the phoenix's head? It's showing us that the royals are behind it all. Isn't that symbol of the royals? So could King Charles be that anti-Jesus that many people speculate? The gold coin, obviously, again, representing a combination of both gold bullion, and Bitcoin both. But how the heck did they know this, friends, all the way back in 1988? They must have an amazing team of psychics and remote viewers working and helping them orchestrate and plan all this stuff against humanity. Because it is against us. It's not for us. They're going to make it look like it's for you. Oh, it's for your best. It's for your better. And then they add on all the other stuff. The digital ID, the carbon tax. Just get you into the system first. Once you're in the system, you ain't got no choice. Just say no, friends. Just say no. And their system isn't going to last long. Because we're heading to the new Earth, friends. Speaking of which, I have a new Earth video coming out this week. My friends on Subscribestar already seen that last week. I still got some little editing to do to it. With New Earth, positive predictions and positive things. Because people keep saying you don't say nothing positive. I actually do. You just don't watch my monthly forecast especially. Which is 90% positive. So I did this New Earth video predictions that you're going to want to see. I'm also working on a I'm not sure top 8, top 10 coming events predictions that I want to get out. Because I, again, have family and friends coming and holiday coming up for myself. So I'll be on plugging. Next week's show, I'm not sure of. I will have a show next week. I'm just not sure when. Because I'll be traveling. So I'm going to try to get it done on Monday like I am now. And if that's the case, then I can do Tuesday evening and it'll all work out. But my show next week might end up Wednesday. So don't go leave a comments. Where are you? Where are you? Don't email my office. Please don't email my office. Unless it's for personal, services. Because you'll see me Wednesday if I'm not there Tuesday. And it might likely be Wednesday, actually. I'm going to record it before I travel. And then get it up when I can. So this all leads, again, to the carbon tax. Carbon tax. You wait. You watch. You're going to see. that even Elon is pushing for this global carbon tax. And so is, who else did that? Was it that Pierre guy in Canada that just said that? Somebody just said, I heard someone else just say that. I can't remember who though, so don't quote me on that. This is also how they track everyone, friends. They won't need to track you with your phone anymore. They'll track every little tiny move you make with blockchain. Blockchain technology. And without that, you will be unable to purchase things in the future, just like the Holy Bible warned us of the mark of the beast. So this is their plan, friends. I want you to give a close listen to this piece I put together for you. Observe and listen to the following.
Never sell your Bitcoin, right?
The Trumps have been very bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Again, it's coming. Everybody knows it's coming, and the people who don't embrace it early are going to ultimately lose.
Eric Trump recently met with Michael Schuyler at Mar-a-Lago, who has been preparing a plan to preserve U.S. dollar dominance by utilizing Bitcoin as a reserve.
You dump gold, demonetize the entire gold network, you buy Bitcoin, you buy 5 million or 6 million Bitcoin, you monetize the Bitcoin network, and you just define digital currency as the US dollar backed by US dollar equivalents in a regulated US custodian. Replaces every currency in the world with the dollar, which the US controls, and it siphons off hundreds of trillions of dollars of 20th century capital assets and half of the capital in the rest of the world. And 75% of the capital of our enemies gets siphoned into Bitcoin. And the beneficiary is the US government. And after that, every US company, because we're the ones that own and run it.
Trump has been rebranding the North American Union as Canada being the 51st state of the United States, and Justin Trudeau is now resigned, leaving a clear path for Pierre Poilievre to make significant changes.
We haven't really seen a lot of concrete proposals from Mr. Poilievre. I mean, he did make one. That's not fair. You're right. He had one great opportunity for people to opt out of inflation. He recommended this last spring. You can opt out of inflation if you invest your money in Bitcoin. Yeah. No. He stayed up late, watched all sorts of YouTube videos, and came to that conclusion. He said that himself.
We're going to buy this shawarma with this Bitcoin. Send.
Done. Yep, I got it.
You got the deal? Guys, we did it. We bought the shawarma with Bitcoin. So that is my plan, to enable Canada to become the blockchain and crypto capital of the world.
Debt slavery has existed on Earth for thousands of years, which is why a cashless society has been a great concern to freedom-loving souls. In the early days of civilization, farmers would borrow against their harvest. And if their harvest failed, the farmer would lose everything and become a slave until the debt was repaid. Eventually, the amount of slaves with nothing to lose becomes a threat to those in power. And so, debt jubilees were issued at regular intervals as a matter of public stability. The Bible describes a debt jubilee that would happen every 50 years as an economic reset, a year of liberation and restoration, where debts are forgiven, land is returned, and slaves are set free. The ancient Greeks had debt jubilees to avoid violent revolutions and uprisings. As economist Lynn Alden wrote, it wasn't out of kindness that rulers did this. It was a solution to a societal math problem. If you run a computer long enough, eventually it starts to work less efficiently. Refreshing the power and rebooting the system gets the computer running smoothly again. A Jubilee year has been celebrated every 25 years by the Catholic Church since 1300. But the need for debt forgiveness has been avoided by the current debt-based fiat system. And the Uniform Commercial Code, which has been running for nearly a century, and it is at its end. 2025 is a Jubilee year, and Pope Francis has called for affluent countries to forgive debts and to address ecological debt, which sounds like a carbon tax. The emerging system is much more than just money. It is a cataloging system where every person and every piece of property can be connected via a digital identity. This is called tokenization, and it is set to replace the birth certificate and every other document of title in the real world. Biblical prophecy Christians are saying that this is the mark of the beast, but there is no need for a mark when facial recognition will do the job. And if it comes with debt forgiveness and universal basic income, then those who fight against the system will be seen as terrorists by the public.
What's going to happen is the U.S. dollar is going to be the world reserve currency, and it's going to run on billions and billions of mobile devices. And the digital asset that underlies that currency is going to be Bitcoin.
We see their plan carved out right there in front of our eyes and right in front of our faces, friends. But through the deception of the media and, of course, programming of the masses, not too many people are seeing this clearly as an agenda and as a plan by the globalist. So interesting and crazy times for sure. And in the end, it will. And you can mark my words on this. In the end, if I'm still around, I believe I will be. In the end, this will all lead to positive. We just have to fight through this boxing match that we're in right now with the global elite. And we need to knock them out. As if our economy isn't already on the edge of a great collapse and the globalist great reset into the mark of the beast. I did a video on the mark of the beast too. You got to check that one out. It was a few years ago, but it was really good. I thought it was really good anyway. More back and forth this past week over this whole tariff stuff that's happening, of course. One day it's tariffs, then, retaliation. The markets dropped significantly, greatly in some cases, including cryptocurrencies. I think I lost quite a bit of money. I didn't lose it. It temporarily went out of my account. I'll put it that way, because that money will come back. You just leave it sit. Don't let that go away. It'll come back, especially in crypto. It'll come back eventually. But, we see this happening. The markets drop, then all of a sudden they cancel the tariffs temporarily, they say, and then the markets rise back up. What do you think, friends? Do you agree with what I said last week? We know what Pelosi makes in inside trading. You think they're planning this? I have no doubt that they are. And you know what? Look at this concerning post. Both Donald Jr., but also Eric T. was the one that posted this right here. You see for yourself. And this confirms what I said in the recent past. He posted this, friends, on social media. Buy the dip. Buy in the dip. Buy in the dip. Just in time when the markets first went down. Both crypto and stocks. But then they went up again. Many people losing lots of money while the rich seem to be just getting richer. Seems to always be the case. That's this oligarch dictatorship that they're pushing our world into. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's what they are pushing. I've been talking about this for 15 years. The NWO and the world currency, the world government, world religion. This is what they're pushing. George Bush said it clearly. Right? I showed you that clip. So they're buying and selling in the dips, while other people are losing money. Are you familiar with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, or the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act? It goes both ways. It's bisexual. Passed by the Republican-ruled House in the United States decades ago, in 1930 to be exact. The Tariff Act of 1930. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act passed on June 17, 1930 by a Republican-ruled House in the United States of America. This act came about from Senator Smoot from Utah and Senator Hawley from Oregon, pushed to already put tariffs on already high tariffs in the United States. And they did exclude duty-free imports, which enacted the tariffs under the act that was the second highest in United States history, exceeding only the tariffs that were put out in 1828. An awful long time ago, friends, hundreds of years ago to be exact. The act on tariffs by the America's trading partners, they all retaliated. Other countries retaliated against the United States, and that slumped the United States' Great Depression into the Greatest Depression. Just saying. You can do your own little research on all of this for yourself to show you that, this is what happened. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen now. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just going back and speculating on what happened in the past and how that can lead to things in the future. Now, another person that actually tried to educate us all on the consequences of tariffs and trade wars was actually President Ronald Reagan. So I went into session and I channeled Ronald Reagan. I said, "Oh, Ronald, come to me and tell me about the tariffs." And here's what he had to say, friends. This is what Ronald Reagan had to say. I want you to listen. This goes back, to the same time that Economist magazine cover I showed you with the phoenix rising from the burnt money with the Bitcoin in its hand, pretty much. Well, this was all around the same time that Ronald Reagan said this.
Now, that message of free trade is one I conveyed to Canada's leaders a few weeks ago, and it was warmly received there. Indeed, throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. Now, there are sound historical reasons for this. For those of us who lived through the Great Depression, the memory of the suffering it caused is deep and searing. And today, many economic analysts and historians argue that high tariff legislation passed back in that period, called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff, greatly deepened the Depression and prevented economic recovery. You see, at first, when someone says, "Let's impose tariffs on foreign imports," it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity. Now, it hasn't always been easy. There are those in the Congress, just as there were back in the 30s, who want to go for the quick political advantage, who risk America's prosperity for the sake of a short-term appeal to some special interest group, who forget that more than 5 million American jobs are directly tied to the foreign export business, and additional millions are tied to imports. Well, I've never forgotten those jobs, and on trade issues, by and large, we've done well. In certain select cases, like the Japanese semiconductors, we've taken steps to stop unfair practices against American products, but we've still maintained our basic long-term commitment to free trade and economic growth.
My feelings are as they have been for a very long time, friends. The globalists, the big bankers, WEF, the UN, all of them have been pushing for their global reset. Even Klaus Schwab wrote a book on it. But not until after they crash the economies. That's how they want to do it. Crash the economies and make a new system appear irresistible to all of us. That's the greatest idea ever. And everybody will jump in on it. Before they know it, they'll end up getting that mark. Just a thought. The mark of the beast. If that's even, connected. I'm sure it is. I mean, how would you not be able to buy things according to the Bible? You won't be able to buy food or anything without the mark. It would make sense. That mark has to do with the whole blockchain system. And probably a lot more that's going to come following that. And a whole system that's actually going to be controlled by artificial intelligence and what they tell it to do. Not what we agree to, but what they want it to do. And they'll make it appear completely irresistible to everybody. And that's going to be followed by, of course, the carbon taxes and taxes being taken right out of your accounts, whether you like it or not, or whether you have the money or not. And your new government blockchain accounts, that's where your money's going to be. And the new government blockchain accounts backed by Bitcoin and others. They even told us what they were. XRP, Cardano, I forget what the other one was. ADA, I think ADA is Cardano. So they told us. Now, I told you about XRP and my feelings. Of course, that's went down quite a bit. Maybe you might want to get some because that's going to be big in the future. How far? A few years in the future, but it's going to be big. It's going to be big. And I still stay. Bitcoin is going to take a big, huge dump before it rises back up again. Maybe perhaps that's part of their plan as well. You never know with these crazy people. When you got a bunch of psychopaths running the world. So your new government blockchain account is where they're just going to go in and dip in whenever they feel like it. And what we need to do, we together need to hold in the light that, and in prayer or ceremony or whatever you do, that this does not happen. They do not win. And we must be the ones that step up and say no to this coming new system. Or else we're going to look back and be like, or our grandkids are going to say, why did you say yes to that, Grandma? Why'd you say yes to that, Grandpa? And how are you going to respond? We got all kinds of conflicts happening. World conflicts, global conflicts, political conflicts, trade war conflicts. Interesting times. Speaking of interesting, did you happen to see the presidential address last week and the absolute disrespect, in my opinion, that one side, or not even one side, because there were actually people on that one side that did. Not many, but there were a few that did stand up. But all the others that didn't, that basically disrespected that little boy who was a survivor of brain cancer. Not to mention even the others that they disrespected, that other fellow Americans that dealt with major trauma in their lives due to different things. When it comes to kids, when it comes to any of this, but especially when it comes to kids, you need to put the politics aside and your protests aside too. No. No. That just to me is just a clear sign, a clear show of who those people really are. I get the whole protesting thing. I get that. But that's a little boy. And you don't bring politics into that at all. Sad. Prayers to that little boy and his family and all the rest of them. So one of the things that the president has said lately is a little bit funny if you ask me. When he said it, I think it was at the speech where, it was because he didn't correct this mistake. So I'm going to correct it for him because media hasn't corrected it that I saw either. I don't really watch mass media. But he stated that there was $8 million being used to study transgender mice. That is a total wrong. Big old zap on that, big old X. Because the fact is he misread. He should have read he read the teleprompter wrong, or he changed it in his, who knows, but that's not correct. It was actually $8 million went to transgenic mice, not transgender, transgenic mice. And if you don't know what that is, you can, again, look that up. It's actually an important study. So do your own research on that. But he said the wrong thing. I feel a need to just correct that. It's transgenic. Genic. Not transgender. And my favorite part is what came after the actual address. And it was the scripts read aloud by 22 different senators. And the funniest part to me is that they said absolutely the same exact thing. They even used the same font. They used the same font. They used the same graphics, as if they were actually acting in some type of a movie or a television series. I guess it's social media series, we can call it. Everything you see on the telly, everything. Certain people, certain groups, it's all 100% scripted, friends. We know mass media is scripted. We've seen the scripts of them all saying the same exact thing, reading the same exact thing. So I want you to take a look for yourself. Because, friends, if you didn't know it, it seems that there's a constitutional crisis happening right now.
Constitutional crisis. Close to a constitutional crisis. Closing a constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis. A constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis. In a constitutional crisis. 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 Constitutional crisis.
We have a constitutional crisis.
As a constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis.
This is the most serious constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis.
This is a constitutional crisis.
Oh, is there currently a constitutional crisis? There's a whole bunch of poo that just ain't true.
I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true.
That ain't true. That ain't true.
That ain't true. That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true. That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true. That ain't true. That ain't true.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
And of course, in all the attacks and all the craziness and the poo that is not true, of course they had to bring up the Chainsaw Man. You know, we know the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe we should call it the Elon Chainsaw Massacre, because that's kind of what they said.
Of the world to take a chainsaw.
He's allowing Elon Musk to literally take a chainsaw.
Elon Musk take a literal chainsaw?
Literally take a chainsaw.
Elon Musk take a chainsaw.
Elon Musk, an unelected billionaire, take a chainsaw. His buddy Elon Musk.
Elon Musk take
A chainsaw.
Elon Musk dancing on stage with a chainsaw.
Prance around with a chainsaw.
Elon Musk.
Take a chainsaw. Elon Musk bringing a chainsaw and just trying to chop this stuff up.
Elon Musk and his Doge boys.
And his little muskrats.
Elon Musk take the chainsaw.
And whether you believe it or not, they're going to ensure by repetitively saying over and over again, that is the truth.
You lose and billionaires win. And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's
is the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
Remember, friends, repetition is the simplest way of brainwashing and mass programming. Senators all saying the same exact thing is literally acting out a script, just like mass media does, and we've seen that time and time again. And just a reminder to some of the trolls out there, I am an independent. I don't take sides. I look at both the good and the bad being done from all players within the Matrix, no matter what team they might claim that they play for. Personally, I play for Team Independent, because independent thinkers get a lot more done. Not only Team Independent, but Team Spirit, baby. Team Spirit. If you haven't already noticed, it seems that parasites seem to be a very huge focus when you're scrolling through the internet, and a big discussion for at least the past year now. Even the Holy Bible speaks about these devilish invaders to our bodies. Actually, the Bible even speaks on how we can actually rid the bodies of these devilish creatures. One of those methods in the Bible, of course, is to detoxify the body through a fasting of at least 72 hours. 72-hour fasting that can rid our bodies of these devilish creatures. But not everybody can fast, especially for 72 hours. I know that diabetics would have a really hard time with that one. So do you believe in what some of these folks are claiming about parasites and what they're allegedly responsible for? We'll just leave it at that. Did you know that your body is actually a battery? Now think about a battery. Battery vibrates and we get energy out of a battery only because there is an equal polarity of positive and negative vibration. Too much positive, it'll blow up in our faces. Too much negative, you'll get no energy out of it at all. Dead energy. See, negative is dead energy. You don't want dead energy. Like all those energy drinks, like liquid death that they use. Those words on that can put negative vibrations into that drink. They do that on purpose. It's evil. The symbolism on Munster, that goes back to, you know about that symbolism, don't you? If you don't, look down that rabbit hole. I thought about presenting it on the show, but I'm sure none of you really drink that garbage anyway. I used to when I was younger, but no. Just water and tea for me, baby. Sometimes some coffee. And juice, natural juice. So the battery, your body, battery, being a battery, it's a conductor of energy. There's an energy. And I teach this to my clients, actually, when we do meditation. It starts at your sacral, the base of your spine. It runs up your spine, straight up your spine, through the top of your head, and it extends about 2 inches past my fingertips. Then it comes down around us in all directions, past my fingertips, behind us, down below the floor of the ground, and back up through our feet. That energy flow is referred to as the torus energy flow, T-A-R-U-S. That same energy flow is the same energy flow. If you look up the Earth's magnetic energy flow, you'll see the same thing. Comes from the down below, comes straight up through the North Pole, back up around, and back around the Earth. Everything has that same torus energy flow. I'd be willing to bet that's how they make the round silver discs fly in the air with the little circle in the middle. They're using free energy, and they're using the torus energy flow to create that free energy and that magnetic ability to use the Earth's atmosphere to fly, like basically an anti-gravitational device. That's what UFOs are. Now, going back to this, I know that when I fill my water jugs with water, natural spring water, I add a little bit of Celtic salt. Do you do that? Because you need a little salt in that battery. Now, I say Celtic salt only because Celtic salt is supposed to be the best. Why? Well, it has more than 50 different minerals in it. Pink salt now is lately, and that's what I used to use, and I still have in my cabinet. But what's being found with pink salt is they're being found to hold a lot of heavy metals, depending on, again, where you get it. Now, folks think that pink salt comes from the Himalayas because they do call it Himalayan pink salt. I don't know why they do that. Probably to mislead you, to think it comes from there. Actually, most pink salt comes from Iraq in the Middle East. And the other problem is that more folks have turned to pink salt and sea salt over the years, which actually contains no iodine. They put iodine in salt purposely because of people's thyroids and throats. So likely this is playing a big role with so many more people. The fluoride doesn't help either. But so many more people having thyroid issues, throat issues, and so much more. So adding a little bit of natural salt, just a little bit, a little sprinkle. I do the grinder. I hold it for maybe 3 seconds in my big water jug. Just a little bit, because you won't taste it. You don't taste it. But what happens is it ensures that your cells actually absorb that water. Otherwise, it just flows through us and has very less to minimum benefits at all. Now, listen to this following clip. It goes back a while. So excuse the footage. It's a little blurry. It goes back a while, but listen to this very carefully. Not only about your body being a battery, but also the invasion that comes within our bodies of these little devilish parasites. It's creepy. Give a listen.
Proved at the turn of the century that the human body is almost 80%, 90% water, and it's also got electrolytes in it, which we know to be salt, potassium, different minerals. That means we're a salt battery. No different than the car battery, different than something like that. And there's a patent actually called the Cali patent, which I'll hold up here for the camera to see. And this patent actually was developed in 1897, and not much has been done with it, because at that time, everyone was afraid of electricity. In this case, Dr. Clark developed a product using a 9-volt battery. I'll just show you in the back here. There it is, 9-volt battery. And this particular unit, you just snap on your wrist with 2 wristbands. You snap it on your wrist, just to prove that I'm a circuit. I push the little green light, and the thing is on. And if I put my hands together, you can hear that I'm a circuit, and I'm a closed circuit at this point. Now, with
Why do we get a sound when you put your hands together?
Because I've closed the circuit. Now, when I take my hands apart, obviously the electricity is now being able to flow through the body. The electricity can't go through the digestive tract, so in the digestive tract, to kill the microorganisms, the specific parasites, she's found the effectiveness of the black walnut, which the native Indians used for cleansing many years ago. The black walnut, in its green hull form, kills many of the microorganisms, and in conjunction with another product called wormwood and cloves, typical cloves that you would get at the store. These three in combination have the ability to go in and kill all the pathogens. Now, what's most interesting is the Mexican people have the lowest incidence of cancer anywhere on the planet. And the reason is they kill the ascaris with this particular product here, we all know to be the jalapeno pepper. And those seeds of the jalapeno pepper, only 10 or 15 seeds twice a day, have the ability to kill the ascaris, which she found to be a major cause of why the body loses oxygen at the tumor sites. And to kill that, you use the jalapeno seeds, and then you back that up with a little ozonated olive oil.
Personally, I was actually truly convinced, especially after eating so much sushi, which I love so much, that something devilish was living in my body. My system seemed really off. My digestive system was off. And it was off for a while. And it's just something was telling me this is not right. This isn't normal. And most doctors won't listen if you tell them that you feel like you have parasites. They might even laugh at you. Most doctors won't prescribe you the medication that begins with the I, the IV. I'm not even going to go there, but you know what I'm talking about. So what is one to do? What is one to do? Again, the Bible does mention fasting for 72 hours or longer. The Bible also mentions multiple times wormwood. Wormwood's mentioned a few times. First, it's mentioned as the star wormwood, maybe later, but it's mentioned as the star wormwood, which I believe is a meteor or asteroid crashing into the ocean according to the Revelation's prophecy. But there's also an herb called wormwood. I've used it in ceremony. Because it actually opens up your intuitive receptors and can enhance your spiritual experiences. I utilized it in my master class, level 2, with my students. It's bitter. It's not tasty. It's very nasty, actually. It's very bitter. But yeah, add other stuff to it, or honey or something, and then it's fine. They also do other tinctures and things with wormwood that go back to ancient practices and magical practices. But the other thing is black walnut. Black walnut was used by the indigenous natives to rid the body of parasites. So cloves. So I have a combination. I take a tincture that's a combination of black walnut root, black walnut, wormwood, cloves. I think there might be something else in there, but they're the main three. It's not delicious. I can't stand the taste of cloves. I can't stand the smell of cloves. It reminds me of a kid having to eat grandma's ham with the clove in it. Gross. But I did it, and I did it, and I did the whole routine, and I do it all on and off. I'm off right now. I'll start doing it again in maybe a few more days, but my system's completely different now, so I know there was something going on there. I have no doubt. You couldn't convince me differently. But I thought that was interesting because, there's a lot of things going on. We're coming out with so much more wisdom and knowledge when it comes to our health breakthroughs. And this is the amazing part of the times that we're in. Not only necessarily cures for diseases like the big C, but what about preventative measures like clearing parasites out of the body? Just a thought, and always something to look deeper into, because when they're holding that wisdom from us, that's usually wisdom that we really need to utilize in our own personal lives. You likely recall and remember my past predictions around sabotage of things like pipelines, ocean cables, and so on. And we saw this occur in the past few months. We saw over in Taiwan when the communication cables were purposely severed by a Chinese ship who dragged their anchor purposely across the ocean floor to sever and sabotage those cables. Even though they denied it, we found out that it did happen. Well, this has actually happened again, friends. Just as Spirit warned, the last time that happened in Taiwan, Spirit said it's going to happen again. They're going to sabotage again. No one really is talking about this one, which I'm really surprised about this. And I only came to find out about this because I have friends who moved from United States, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, right around the same exact time. We were going through the same process, major moves at the same time. It was really interesting. I moved across country and they moved to Sweden. They moved to a small little Swedish island, Gotland. Beautiful little island. Maybe they can catch some Swedish fish there, perhaps. Kidding. I loved Swedish fish when I was a kid. But yeah, that red food dye ain't good for you. Not good for you at all. Not good for you at all. So what happened is first, Sweden began investigating a damaged cable at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. right off the coast of Gotland, where my friends live on that little island, which takes like 2 hours by ferry to get there. Swedish authorities said this was a couple weeks ago, actually, 18 days ago to be exact, this article, that they are investigating a damaged cable that was discovered in the Baltic Sea, the latest string of recent incidents that ruptured undersea cables that have heightened fears that Russian sabotage and spying in the region. Now, that waterway there is an important waterway that, of course, Russia wants to take control of. So, this whole thing where they say Russia wants to invade other countries, there's some truth to part of that. It may not be invade, but sabotage or take control of certain areas with help of China. Now, if we go back a few years ago, I told you that China, Iran, North Korea, Russia were all working together. But in the end, Russia would end up, backing out on China in some way and angering China. So we haven't seen that happen yet. But it's interesting that China sabotages the cables in Taiwan. And now we have Russia not only just sabotaging the cables in Gotland, Sweden, the island there, but also there's something else. Let me finish telling you about this. The breakage was found on a cable that runs between Germany and Finland off the island of Gotland, south of Stockholm, in the Swedish economic zone, the news agency TT reported. The Coast Guard was responding to the site. A preliminary investigation into sabotage was opened, Swedish police said in a statement, adding that they had no further information to share at this time. But since then, they found out, sabotage. It gets even creepier and stranger and maybe even scarier for the folks in Gotland who are fighting this. There were 2 other sabotages that just happened recently in the same area. Secondly, there was the water supply sabotage on the Swedish island, the same island, Gotland. This just happened in the past week. Swedish police have opened an investigation into suspected sabotage after power cables to a pumping supply station in the Baltic Sea and Gotland, where they get their water, was disconnected intentionally. Yeah, friends. There's another one. This one's the newest, just a few days ago. There was also a sabotage of Sweden's unsinkable aircraft carrier. Sweden's unsinkable aircraft carrier, aka an island, has faced various methods of sabotage from 2022 onwards. There is no official culprit, but all the signs point towards Russia involvement. Isn't that interesting, friends? Isn't that interesting? So are we stuck in this loop of conspiracy, or is it really a loop of cover-ups? From Oklahoma City to take out President Kennedy and many others, JFK. Today I'm going to reveal a clip from a previous FBI chief and his warning. Something you're going to want to hear for yourself. Give a listen.
Look what's happened in the last 23 years. A disgrace. I personally investigated the Oklahoma City bombing case. Huge cover-up. Jack Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. Bobby Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. World Trade Center, huge cover-up. Okay. Terrorism. They're using it as an excuse to take away our constitutional rights and our civil liberties. The Bilderbergs. The Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, globalists are the element behind this. It dovetails into the satanic movement, and this movement has infiltrated into our intelligence community, the once great FBI and the CIA.
Couple other stories for today. And remember, I do have 2 other videos that'll be coming out over the next week or so. By the end of this week, you'll see the new Earth prediction and ascension video. You're going to want to see that. Good stuff. And then I'm working on a top 7 or top 8 or top 10. I don't know, whatever Spirit gives me, coming events. And I'll have them out. I don't know when that one will be out. But the other one will be out by the end of this week. A couple other stories is Angie Stone, the R&B singer and songwriter. Did you hear what happened to her? Remember I talked about an accident happened. And this happened actually before I actually made the prediction. So I'm not saying this is my prediction at all. because it hasn't happened yet. But I did say that somebody, famous actor, I had a combination of seeing Princess Diana and Paul Walker in an accident like that, which would mean, you know, we know what happened to Princess Diana. It was, you know, there goes that sabotage again. So they're going to do that to someone famous actor? Well, they certainly did that to Angie Stone, because if you read the story, she was fighting against the record companies for her royalties, just like Prince was. And look what happened to Prince. I did a video on that whole Prince thing. You should go back and watch that. It's way back, but it's still on my YouTube channel somewhere. Yeah, they fight against the companies for royalties, and look what happens. There were 9 people in the vehicle, and after the accident, a truck came and smacked it again to ensure that she was the only one to pass away, and out of the 9 people. No coincidence there, friends. Also, I don't have the footage for you. Maybe I'll try to throw it together, but did you see the Oscars? And the background and the Freemasonry symbolism at the background of the Oscars. And, you know, look at Oscar. Oscar very much resembles this ancient Egyptian god here. Matches perfectly. Perfect, you know, background that represents the Freemasons. Did you also see Lady Gaga recently on SNL? I don't have that clip. I didn't even see it myself. I only saw part of it. But it was literally a satanic ritual. SNL clip. I told you, man, I knew she was part of it. I mean, look, she was on American Horror Story. You remember that episode? I used to love that show. I love a good horror film. I didn't like that season. It was kind of really creepy because it was really kind of what they do. You know, she was the head vampire that preyed on the blood of little kids. That was American Horror Story. Yeah, so this last SNL clip, they did this whole ritual. They're wearing the reversed upside down pentacle. The pentacle with 1 point up is good, represents man. We talked about that. But the devil turns everything upside down. The cross, the pentacle 2 points up is satanic. Obviously. So I thought they were interesting things. What else is interesting? Over the weekend, I watched 2 movies. First, I watched the Complete Unknown, the whole Bob Dylan thing. And you don't have to be a fan of Bob Dylan to watch that movie. You should be a fan of good folk music, though, because the music in that movie is amazing, awesome. And the actor that played him, in my opinion, should have got an Oscar. I know he was nominated and they gave it to someone else, but they should have gave it to him because, man, that was an Oscar performance for sure. But I wonder why they left out. I knew they would. But I was wondering why they left out the part where Bob Dylan made a pact with someone. Who'd he make a pact with? I bet you know who he made a pact with. Was it a pact or did he sell his soul? Perhaps to the devil himself. No doubt, because he actually, if you're not familiar, Bob Dylan actually admitted it. And in this clip that I just have to show you, you actually watch the very beginning as he speaks, he almost says devil. Like it literally, it almost looks like they cut it out from him saying that. It's amazing. Watch, check it out.
Like the destiny thing. You know, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Now, I saw Bob Dylan back in 1994. I was just 23 years old at Woodstock 94, and I got to tell you, that was one of the best shows and best times of my life, especially in your early 20s. That was amazing. Bob Dylan wasn't that good live. I was a little bit disappointed. But overall, it was still amazing. And he opened up, Joan Baez opened up Woodstock 94. I met people from Woodstock 69, same people, you know, people that were at the other one. They said, this is so much like the old one. The mud, it was amazing. Amazing times. But that was a really good movie. I highly recommend it. The other one I watched, it just popped up on my screen. I'm like, ooh, I got to watch this. Contagion. Remember the Contagion movie? Yeah, people were talking like that virally back in 2020 and how it matched what was happening back during that time period. So these are a couple things I thought were really interesting in the movie. In this movie, I forget what year it was, but it was 2011? Maybe this movie was 2011? I can't remember. I'm sure someone will say in the comments. But they said in the movie, is this a bird flu bioweapon? Because the movie's about an outbreak, of course, and people like outbreak and people passing, and it was a big deal. And in that big deal, a guy says, oh, is this a bird flu bioweapon? Bird flu wasn't even a big thing back then. And the guy turns around and he says, no, the birds are already doing that. The birds are already doing that. Interesting. I thought that was really an interesting quote. And they also said in that movie, this was really concerning. The guy's like, they want to put the vax in the water like fluoride. I was like, oh, whoa. Nobody was talking about that in 2020. Because we know they want to put it in the air so you can breathe it in. We know that. There's a patent on it by Gates and Friends. Put it in the water like fluoride. I thought that was really interesting. In the same movie, they had to wear wristbands that were locked on their wrists with UPC symbols, basically tracking like a mark of a beast. And at the end, they show you bats, at the very end of the movie, not to be spoiler alert here, they show bats spreading the disease to pigs. And then the movie ends. Remember the whole bat thing back in 2020? We know it came from where it came from now, but I just thought that was really interesting to look back at that movie and watch that. Very interesting. And if you haven't watched it or you want to watch it again, go watch it again. I found it, again, to be very enlightening, to say the least. So lastly today, I ask you, do you have any regrets? They tell us, no regrets. There's even bumper stickers that say no regrets. And even there's some folks that even put tattoos on themselves, no regrets. Why they would do that is beyond me. Likely because they actually do have regrets. Many, people live in the past and allow the past to dictate their current and future lives. Let it go. Let it go. Personally, I have no regrets. Other than regretting maybe past judgments of thinking that some folks were actually good people, allowing them into my life only to find out that I was wrong. They did not turn out to be the good people I thought I saw. Is this a misjudgment? Or is this just good hearts hoping that others are true in their hearts as we are? With lots of lessons, of course, entangled into that web. I thought that was interesting. But regrets hold you back. Emotions and emotional things lead to illnesses and diseases. Every illness and disease or ailment has some type of a deep-rooted emotional cause, like diabetes, for example. A longing for what may have been. That's kind of like being stuck in the past. And a great need to control. I know 2 people in this neighborhood that are diabetic, and boy, do they have a great need to control everything in this neighborhood. And when it don't go their way, oh boy, they act like little kids. While insulting others and talking about others. It's really interesting to me. So have no regrets, friends. With this full moon that's coming up, it is a powerful time of healing. Meditate. Let the baggage go. Take some time, maybe clean out your closets. Show the universe that you're ready to clean up the clutter. Because the Mercury retrograde, it's not a time to start new things, but it is a great time to finish things, pick them up and get them done that you never got to get done. So that when we come out of this cycle and we move into April, amazing time for us to really, truly make amazing things happen in the world of manifesting. So again, friends, don't have any regrets. Even those that you allowed into your life that you thought were good people, and they ended up not being. Take the lessons from it and know that there are good people with hearts as golden as yours out there. How do you find them? You don't. You attract them. The law of attraction. So focus every day on the kind of people, the kind of friendships, and the kind of relationships that you want to be surrounded by. Not those that you're surrounded by now, because you can't change people. With the willingness of letting go of anybody outside that window. And thirdly, when you meet somebody and you just met somebody and say, hey, you want to go grab a bite to eat? Make sure you say yes. You got to take the walls down. You got to let new people flow into your life. And to have the right people flow into your life, just focus on the vibrations that you want to be surrounded by. And those vibrations will attract you like a magnet. I very much hope that you all enjoyed today's content. A big thank you again to all the supporters and contributors to this channel that make this free content possible for everybody else. Please do give me a thumbs up, click that love button. It's good karma. It gets more content like this onto your feed, and it also helps our tribe to grow. And we want our tribe's been growing greatly over the past year. Let us continue growing this tribe. Don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter. Set your notifications for the new videos that'll be premiering by the end of this week and next week. And friends, other than that, I know I will see you in the future. Until then, like my little sign says over there, remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Just let your light shine. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste, friends. Much love. Much love.